Greetings, everyone. My name is Aurora, and I'd like to share a story that might resonate with some of you. Have you ever experienced the unsettling feeling that someone you trusted harbored a profound secret capable of turning your world upside down? Now, try to envision that person as your very own mother. Just a week ago, my life took an unexpected turn, and it marked one of the most challenging and heart-wrenching days I've ever endured. What I uncovered wasn't merely disheartening. It shattered my perception of a lifetime built upon deceit. The catalyst for this revelation occurred while I was rummaging through our cluttered garage, desperately searching for tools to aid in my chemistry project. In an instant, a heavy box crashed down onto my toes, eliciting a sharp cry of pain. Yet, as I glanced at the wreckage beneath me, I realized that this mishap was far from ordinary. Amidst the shattered remnants of the box lay a trove of intriguing artifacts, each holding a significance I had never imagined. Among these discoveries were aged photographs of my mother during her college years, moments frozen in time. But what truly astounded me was a photograph featuring her holding a child, standing beside a man I didn't recognize. Puzzlingly, I had no siblings, and the man remained a complete enigma to me. Another captivating find was an antiquated voice recorder inscribed with the words, "Dear Aurora and Nathan." This revelation deepened my intrigue and curiosity. With the recorder discreetly concealed in my clothing, I tiptoed back into the house, my mind awash with countless questions. Who was that mysterious child captured in those photographs? What lay hidden within the voice recorder? Who was Nathan? In an instant, I found myself drawn into a suspenseful narrative, assuming the role of a clandestine agent determined to decipher the code and unravel the enigma presented by the photographs and the voice recorder that had unexpectedly surfaced. I retreated to my room, the weight of anticipation heavy upon me, and embarked on the mission to play the dictaphone. I pressed buttons eagerly, frustration mounting as nothing seemed to happen. Finally, my persistence led me to the correct button, and my mother's voice emanated from the device. My heart raced as her words filled the room. The more I listened, the more I realized that the woman speaking was like a stranger to me, living a life I had been entirely unaware of. She harbored a secret existence, one that stirred a maelstrom of anger and sadness within me. In my eyes, my mother had always been a regular young woman who pursued her studies at a prestigious university. However, life took a cruel turn when she was diagnosed with liver cancer during her senior year, forcing her to abandon her dreams. Chemotherapy took her hair, but not the illness. Desperate, she underwent a major surgical procedure, and miraculously, it was successful in defeating the cancer. As her life slowly returned to normalcy, she crossed paths with my father, and they embarked on a journey together, eventually bringing me into this world. Yet my mother harbored a deep-seated fear that the cancer would resurface, prompting her to record her last wishes for me on that dictaphone. I couldn't fathom why she chose to keep this profound secret locked away. It struck me as a selfish act, an unexpected deviation from the image of the brave woman I had always admired. My discovery left me shocked and perplexed, understanding that perhaps she had shielded me from this painful chapter in her life to spare both of us from its sorrow. Nonetheless, the weight of her silence loomed large, leaving me questioning why she had chosen to withhold such a monumental secret from me. A brother? Yes, you read that correctly. A brother who shared no common paternity with me. The name inscribed on the dictaphone beside mine belonged to none other than the sibling I had no inkling of until that fateful day. Try to envision the sheer frustration that engulfed me as this revelation unfolded. I was seething with anger, left bewildered by the manner in which this hidden truth had come to light. As the voice recording continued, my mother's words cut through the tumultuous emotions coursing within me. "Dear Aurora, I love you and your brother so deeply. I yearn for you both to be together, but circumstances have conspired against us. I concealed his existence to shield both of you, but I refuse to carry this secret to my grave." The shock was overwhelming. My heart thundered in my chest, its echoes the only sound in my ears. The discovery of an unknown brother had initially filled me with exhilaration, like the plot of an electrifying thriller. But in an instant, that exhilaration had been replaced by a grim, haunting narrative, bereft of any promise of a happy ending. After wrestling with my inner turmoil for hours, I resolved to confront my mother about her hidden truth. I contemplated the most tactful approach to this revelation, and as dinner time arrived, I knew it was time to put my plans into motion. Sitting down at the table with both my mother and father, I cast a pitiable gaze at my unsuspecting father, who remained ignorant of the deception perpetrated by his wife. I fixed my gaze upon my mother's countenance, a visage that had suddenly transformed into a facade, concealing a hidden malevolence. The moment had arrived to confront her, to forcibly strip away that deceptive mask she wore. My fists collided with the table's surface, a violent eruption that left my parents visibly startled. I began to shout so vehemently that it felt as though the very glasses on the table might shatter into shards. "How could you be so selfish?" I screamed, my voice resonating with fury. "How could you deceive us for all these years? I'm aware of your secret, and I won't keep it hidden. I know I have a brother, Nathan." As I uttered my brother's name, my anger gave way to tears, a torrent of emotion cascading down my cheeks. The meticulously planned questions I had intended to ask now seemed distant and inconsequential. In a quivering, tear-laden voice, my gaze locked on my mother's eyes, I beseeched, "Where is he now? How old is he?" My mother, her head bowed low, remained silent, her eyes heavy with sorrow, offering no answers to my inquiries. My father, attempting to provide solace and support, stood and placed his hand upon my shoulder, but I forcefully shrugged him off. I raced to my room, vowing that my mother owed me an explanation for the convoluted web of secrets that had entangled our lives. As I shut my bedroom door, I waited to hear my father reprimand her, but instead, I discerned their hurried departure from the house. Moments later, footsteps drew near my room, and my mother entered, illuminating the space with a soft glow. In her hands, she clutched a collection of old photographs, the very same images I had discovered in the garage. My father lingered in the hallway, leaning against the wall, his presence an unspoken invitation for her to address me. In a hushed yet resolute tone, my mother began to recount the tale, promising to unveil the entirety of the convoluted narrative. She shared that during her university days, she had fallen in love with a man named Gavin, a serendipitous encounter that had left her convinced he was the embodiment of her dreams. Gavin, with his charm and striking appearance, swiftly became a significant presence in her life, and it wasn't long before she found herself expecting a child. Their dreams of building a life together took shape, but the course of events veered sharply from their aspirations. Shortly after Nathan's birth, my mother received the devastating diagnosis of liver cancer, a revelation that would irrevocably alter their plans. Her health deteriorated rapidly, forcing her to abandon her education. The foundations of their life crumbled, and Gavin's priorities appeared to lie more in revelry with friends than in tending to her needs during her hospitalization. Faced with these challenges, my mother made the heart-wrenching decision to separate from Nathan, choosing to raise him on her own. She resolved to wage her battle against the insidious disease independently, enduring the hardships it brought her way. However, her condition continued to worsen, and as she teetered on the precipice of death, a profound realization dawned upon her. Nathan deserved a life beyond the tumultuous circumstances she had endured, and she made the agonizing choice to grant Gavin custody of their child. Life took an unexpected turn when she miraculously survived the cancer, bestowed with a second lease on life. It took her 3 arduous years to regain her strength and health post-breakup. By that time, Gavin had forged a new life with another woman. They had wed and were raising Nathan as their own, fulfilling my mother's fervent wish for him to have a stable, conventional upbringing. Upon her release from the hospital, she attempted to establish communication with Gavin and arranged to meet him for coffee. Gavin, understandably, harbored a complex mix of emotions upon encountering my mother once more. He wore a blend of happiness and astonishment on his face when my mother approached him. She inquired about Nathan and expressed her desire to see him. Gavin's reaction was immediate and impassioned. He vehemently opposed the idea, fearing the perplexing task of explaining to Nathan that he had another mother after all these years. It weighed heavily on his mind. How could they elucidate the complex web of events that had transpired? Nathan was still quite young, and the prospect of understanding such a situation seemed daunting. Gavin worried that revealing the truth might ignite resentment in Nathan. directed at both my mother for her earlier absence and Gavin for concealing the truth for so long. After careful deliberation, they arrived at a difficult decision. When Nathan reached the age of 18, Gavin would disclose the entire truth, including the fact that his birth mother was still alive. They hoped that with maturity, Nathan might better comprehend the circumstances and harbor less anger. As my mother recounted this narrative, she held my hand tenderly, her gaze filled with love and sincerity. "My dear daughter," she continued, "life often presents us with situations for which we are unprepared. The world is a realm of uncertainty, and our ability to adapt is key to finding joy in our journey here. Although life took my son from me, it also bestowed upon me your loving father and blessed me with you." Tears welled up in her eyes, mingling sorrow and joy in a poignant blend. I keenly felt the depth of her emotions and empathized with the turmoil she had endured. Regret washed over me for my earlier outburst, as I realized how unjustly I had accused her of selfishness when, in truth, she embodied the very opposite. She had made tremendous sacrifices, a realization that overwhelmed me. I embraced her tightly, my tears mirroring the sadness that enveloped both my mother and my brother. As we pored over the photographs, I turned to her with a heartfelt plea. "Mom, I want to meet him." Silence hung in the air, and I thought she might not have heard me, so I repeated the question. Abruptly, she responded with a sharp no before abruptly leaving the room. Confusion and frustration welled up within me. Hadn't the day already brought forth enough emotional turmoil? Why did she wish to keep us apart? It felt like a seemingly insurmountable impasse. I buried my head in my hands, and my father approached to offer an explanation for my mother's behavior. He began to recount how my mother had attempted to reach out to Nathan when he turned 18, but it had not gone well. Nathan had erupted in anger, branding her as selfish and irresponsible, vowing never to forgive her or his father for concealing such a monumental secret. My father went on to reveal that my mother had often fretted about the day I would discover the truth, fearing that my reaction would mirror Nathan's, and she couldn't bear the thought of losing me as she had lost him. Guilt and remorse washed over me. I had reacted precisely as Nathan had, but I still possessed the opportunity to make amends. Despite the secret she had guarded, my mother was an extraordinary woman, driven by a profound desire to protect us. Determined to mend the pain she was enduring, I ventured downstairs to embrace her and reassure her that I would always stand by her side. I wished for the complications to conclude there, but they were far from over. To rectify the anguish my mother was enduring, I resolved to seek out my brother myself. I embarked on a search for his Facebook page, encountering numerous individuals sharing his name. Yet it became unmistakably clear which one was him, bearing an uncanny resemblance to my mother. Summoning my courage, I composed a message to him. "Hello, I'm Aurora, and I'm your sister. There's so much I'd like to discuss with you. Would you consider meeting in person?" After an hour of persistent persuasion, he relented, agreeing to meet me at a local coffee shop. Initially, we shared an awkward silence, the surreal realization settling in that the person before me, who bore such a striking resemblance to my mother, was my brother. With a heavy heart, I began recounting the entire saga, from the moment I stumbled upon the voice recording to the emotionally charged confrontation with our mother. I hadn't anticipated him patiently listening to the end, especially amidst my tears. Yet, to my surprise, his response took a different turn. Once my tears had ceased, he explained that when my mother had attempted to reach out to him, he had been too consumed by anger to entertain her explanations. But now, having heard the story from me, he agreed to meet her and, more importantly, to forgive her. In the end, it all fell into place. My brother revealed a kind heart, reminiscent of our mother's. Much like how my mother had never given up her fight against cancer, it seemed she had never truly relinquished hope for our family either. Today, after all this time, I find myself feeling like the luckiest person in the world. I have a healthy mother, a healthy father, and now a healthy brother to complete our family.